Hey, I'm Paula. No, that sucks. Okay. I'll try another one. Okay. I just want to keep eating. Okay. We're going to try and do this in one go. Hey, I'm Paula. This is how to make dinner. Today we're making 3 different things with tahini. So we've got white bean dip, baba ganoush, and a really nice lemony tahini dressing. And stay with me and you'll have some really good snacks in your future. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways to use tahini. Not a chickpea in sight. We're not making chickpea hummus today. We're going to make a white bean dip or a white bean hummus. We're going to make a baba ganoush and a really nice tahini dressing with lots of lemon. Let's start with the white bean hummus. So I've got a food processor here. I'm dumping in 1 full can of white cannellini beans. And I've got some garlic. Now, if I was using raw garlic, I would use 1 clove. But I actually we have a lot of garlic right now, so I ended up cooking a lot of it really, really slowly in olive oil. And so now it's really mild, and it's basically like roasted garlic, so I'm going to use 3 cloves. I could even use more because it's actually really sweet and not strong at all. And tahini, I'm going to use about 3 tablespoons, but I'm just going to eyeball it. 1, 2, 3. I think when people make hummus, they often don't use enough tahini. I'm actually even going to put in a little bit more because I love it. It makes it so creamy and good. And then about a teaspoon of salt. And a little splash of cider vinegar. You can use lemon juice. I just really like the sharpness of cider vinegar. So that's, I'm going to say, about a tablespoon as well. Get that away. And then we're just going to grind it up. So that's pretty nice and ground, but it's a little bit thick. So the thing about tahini is, and by the way, tahini is just blended sesame seeds. It's sesame seed paste, like peanut butter, but the sesame seed version. So anything you put it in, like peanut butter, it gets really thick. So I like to keep some water nearby, so I can just use a little water. I wouldn't want to thin this out with olive oil. It's just not necessary. Water's free and it's good for you, and it's just there and it does the trick. So yeah, just keep blending. Oh yeah, it's so nice and smooth. So I actually find that canned chickpeas stay a little bit chunkier than canned white beans. I really like how smooth white beans get. These are just white cannellini beans. They're so creamy. That's pretty smooth. You can totally use a blender too. Actually, blender tends to get things really, really smooth. But you might need to add a bit more water to get the blender to just do its thing. So I'm going to taste this before I scoop it into my bowl. So good. Just got a little bowl here. I'm just going to keep moving right into the next one. So number 1, white bean dip, white bean hummus, whatever you want to call it, is done. This costs, I mean, I really don't like buying hummus in those little tiny tubs. It's like 250 grams and it's honestly $5 each time, in Canada anyway. And I don't live close to a Costco. So this costs the can of, basically the cost of beans, which is, you know, $1.50 plus a bit of tahini, bits and pieces. It's great. So now I'm actually just going to do, I really like za'atar, which is just a really nice blend of, it's got sesame seeds, thyme, sumac, all kinds of other stuff in it. So I'll just sprinkle a little bit of that over. And I'm actually just going to use some of the olive oil from the garlic that I had and drizzle that over. So no olive oil in the actual dip itself. And that's that. So that'll go there. Okay, next up, I'm going to move this guy, is baba ganoush. So I've got an eggplant here, and I roasted this guy in the oven at 400 degrees for about an hour, and it's like a deflated balloon. It's super, super mushy, which is exactly what you want. And then you can basically just kind of peel it and scoop it out. And I have a paper towel in this bowl because I just want to catch any of the really watery stuff that comes out. I just don't want that in my dip. It's actually hardly any actual volume. Once you roast these things down, there's nothing left. I love eggplant, but only when it's super, super mushy like this. Biting into a spongy eggplant is just no good. So I'll get rid of the skin, and I'll get rid of this paper towel that I've used to catch the juice. And I'll just leave the eggplant in the bowl. Chuck that somewhere. So into here we're going to put more of this cooked garlic. Again, I'd use less if I had raw garlic, so I'm going to use 3. Actually, I'm going to use 4 here. And I'm just going to mash this up with a fork. The garlic's soft, so it gets mashed up pretty easily. If it was raw, I would just use the microplane to get it in there. And then just mash it in with the eggplant too. So I'd love to know what your favorite recipes with tahini are. There's another one that I really like that is just applesauce with a little spoonful of tahini stirred together. And it makes like a sesame apple pudding. You can have that for breakfast. A little bit of granola, it's really nice. Okay, so that's mashed. And then I'm gonna do about half a lemon. This is kind of a weird lemon. Squeeze the juice of that in. Just about half. I'm gonna need this later. And the tahini, of course. So about 2 to 3 tablespoons. See, and this is the bottom of the jar, and it's really lumpy, so it lasts forever. There's nothing wrong with it. It just kind of gets lumpy and just takes up space in your cupboards when you don't use it. And I'm gonna use this whisk, which, by the way, is not an egg separator. If you watched my last episode with the kale Caesar salad, you'll know what I'm talking about. And then I'm just gonna whisk this together until it becomes really creamy. Oh, this is so good. And then once it is looking kind of smooth, I'm just gonna drizzle in some olive oil. I'll use my little towel nest trick that I do to keep my bowl steady. And I'll just drizzle in, actually I'm just gonna use regular olive oil here. Just drizzle in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. This just kind of helps it come together really creamy and smooth. And a little bit of salt. This is about half a teaspoon that I just used. And I also have some chopped parsley. So I'll use most of that in, and then I'll save a bit for the top. So that's quick baba ganoush. Whoops, that was a bit loud. So good. So I will scrape that into this bowl here. And I'm gonna do an episode next week. Do episodes every Wednesday. The next week is gonna be a 4th way to use tahini. It's gonna be chocolate chip tahini cookies, which are so good. But I figure we needed a whole episode for that because they take a bit longer. So there's the rest of the parsley, and I'll just drizzle a little bit of this garlicky oil over top. And you know what? Just a few of these garlic cloves sitting right on top in the middle. So nice. That's like, what are we at? We're probably at 7 minutes now, and we've made 2 really, really nice dips. Next up is a really lemony tahini dressing. So for that, I need a jar. I barely ever make dressing any other way other than in a jar these days, just because it's so easy. So I'm going to zest a lemon. This one's, I love it when it's so lemony, so I really want the zest in this. The zest is really where all the lemony flavor is. There we go, that's pretty good. And shove that into the jar. And the juice, I'm gonna put like, maybe even 1.5. 1 lemon, but I have a little half here, so I might throw that in too. It can't really be too lemony. I don't think it's possible. So yeah, tahini is just a great kind of, it kind of binds things together. It thickens. Oh, this guy, I swear these lemons, they're so big. And anything that has tahini in it just feels really luscious and so creamy, even though there's no dairy. So it's really good for people who don't do dairy or don't have like mayonnaise based things. If they want something just really rich and creamy and satisfying. So I'll put this last bit of lemon in because why not? So that's like 1.5 lemons. And then we have tahini, of course. I'm going to put about 1/2 cup, something like that. 100 mils, just over 100 mils. I'm not measuring. Sorry if that's a problem. All the recipes, the actual recipes, will be on howtomakedinner.com. So you can find those there. I think that was just shy. I'm going to say this is 125 mils. And more garlic. Let's do another 3. Again, 1 if it's raw. And then this time I'm going to do about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Just a nice kind of big pinch. I find when things have a lot of lemon in them, they sometimes don't need as much salt. Just because the acidity of the lemon does a similar thing. And then I'm going to put in just about a teaspoon of, this is really nice local honey. So the one thing about tahini flavor-wise is it has like a real kind of bitterness to it. So honey is really going to help with that. And that's it for now. I might add some water. We'll see what we need. So I'm just going to blend this guy up with my stick blender. So yeah, it's really thick. It's like a straight tahini thick thing. So I'm going to add about 100 mils of water. Let's see how we go here. Just going to dip my finger in. Oh, so good. Needs a little bit more salt. And depending on how thick you want it, this is like a really thick, creamy, like, you know, dipping kind of consistency. But if you want to dress some delicate leaves with it, you should just add a bit more water. This is just up to you. Perfect. So my favorite way to use this dressing is to take some nice garden greens that are a little bit tougher. Like if you have things like kale and Swiss chard, Even collard greens or broccoli, like something that you kind of want to have lightly steamed. You can just blanch them or lightly steam them and then shock them in cold water, squeeze all the water out, and then dress them in this tahini dressing. And then sprinkle sesame seeds over top. And it's like the nicest kind of chilled, semi-cooked salad kind of thing. It's really, really good. So here we have it. So we've got tahini dressing, we've got a big mess, baba ganoush, and the white bean dip all ready to go. And I have some veggies here to try them with. So I've got some Belgian endive, some carrots, and some radishes. So I'm just gonna give them all a try here. So good. I'm double dipping. So good. So buy tahini, make hummus, make all this other stuff, and tune in next week and I'll be making cookies with it. And if you like this video, please subscribe, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you. And look, we have appetizers while we're waiting for our dinner.